and welcome to Optus Stadium for the fourth and final day of this first test match between Australia and India. A comprehensive victory for the tourists. I'm Izzy Westbury, he's Brad Haddin. Hads, sum up the day, sum up the test for me.
Yeah, well, it's been an extraordinary test match. After the first day where India got bowled out for 150, I thought it was a brave decision for Bumrah to win the toss and have a bat on these conditions, and then to go into the second innings with a 50-run lead after being bowled out for 150 was outstanding. He led the way with the ball. He was aggressive. He was dangerous. It looked like an event every ball. And then when they had the opportunity to bat, yes, the story is young Jasprit, the way he went about it. He showed different gears in his game, great maturity. Virat Kohli found form again. But to me, the unsung hero a little bit in the batting was Rahul. I think he allowed young Jasprit just to play his game, kept him under control when moments in the game he looked like he was just starting to lose concentration. So he had played a big role there. But the big one for me is the way Bumrah handled himself captaincy-wise. We've seen the game just sort of drifting on yesterday where they could have batted through the day. It would have probably been the same result in the end, but he wanted to be proactive. He wanted the Aussies to get out there and face a couple of overs. He delivered with the ball, but in the end, after what we've seen in day one, is a very comprehensive win. 295 runs to India, well played.
So Jasprit Bumrah, the consummate captain. Of course, he's only the stand-in captain because we've seen that Rohit Sharma has arrived already in Australia, and you'd imagine he's going to take up the reins as he returns. I saw a really interesting stat, actually. I mean, Bumrah got 5 wickets in the first innings, 3 in the second, so 8 for the match. He's never got a 10-for. Is there anything that Bumrah can improve on from this match?
I don't think so. I thought what he did was inject himself into the game exactly when he needed to. Test match cricket is all about recognising big moments and winning those. And when he needed to stand up, he got the ball in his hand, he delivered. We've seen it time and time again from Paddy Cummins as captain of Australia. When they need the big moment, they stood up. So Bumrah did it this test match. He didn't let the captaincy affect the way he bowled, and he was outstanding in all the decisions he made.
Now, Yashasvi Jaiswal came to these shores with a lot about him. He scored double hundreds against England. Everybody knew that he could score runs, but he hasn't done it here before, mainly because he's 22 and was too young to have been here before. Duck in the first innings, and we thought, OK, well, what's going to happen now? 161, and he was disappointed to get out when he did. I mean, what can we expect from him through the series?
Well, I'll tell you what, if we expect anything like that, it's going to be a great series to watch. But what he did show, yes, the 161 was outstanding, and we've seen the appetite for him once he gets in to get big hundreds. But he got a duck in the first innings. He's came to Australia, would have heard all about the bounce of the wickets in Perth. They've done a lot of work at the Wacker leading in. And there's got to be some sort of doubt in your mind after you get a duck in the first innings. But he put that aside. He played great in the second innings under pressure. He controlled the tempo of the game. We've seen him bat at times at one tempo, especially against England, and take the game on and just keep driving it. But out in that innings, he went up and down in his tempo, controlled what he had to do. And as I said, Rahul had a big job to play there as a senior player,
Now, I realise that we're on a bit of a theme here. We've talked about Bumrah, we've talked about Jaiswal. Virat Kohli, he was a man who was not in form. His last century was about 18 months ago. He's come here, he's unbeaten 100. And not only the way he batted, but the way in which he celebrated that Travis Head dismissal. He was the most vehement of them all. He absolutely loved that. I feel as though these are really ominous signs for Australia.
Yeah, Virat Kohli got a bit of his aura back about in this test match. And that was a danger for Australia. He came out here after a lean spell over the last 18 months and found his aura straight away. He was really animated when we seen a couple of big wickets the Australians for, and his 100 was just one of those knocks where from about 30, he just looked like he was batting to get 100. So he's got a great record here. He loves competing in Australia, and that's what we've seen in this first test match.
And a little word for India's bowlers. I mean, they're not the sort of the headline piece, but there was some really good stuff. Bumrah, of course, but well supported by the likes of Siraj and Rana.
Yeah, they did their role. I thought Rana did a really good job in the first innings. He got some crucial wickets. Siraj hasn't been in great form, but he looked like he was starting to find some rhythm at the back end of this test match. So they complimented Bumrah. But what do we have next test? Is there a bowling spot to become available because Shemi comes back in? There's been a bit of talk about that. But the bowlers, what they did this test match, they got their length right. They're intimidating when they have to. But that was all off the back of how well Bumrah bowled.
That's my next question, and I realise that we really are nitpicking here after a 295-run victory. But a problem for India is where do they fit all the returnees in? Shami coming back, possibly Gill as well from that injured thumb. and then Shami possibly.
Well, they're all world-class players, so that you've got to find a way to put them. Obviously, I think the captain comes straight back up to opener. Cahill Rahul has batted well at times in the middle order, so you can put him back at 6, and Gill gets his number 3 spot. So they get strengthened up by some returns. We've seen Rohit Sharma today hitting the net, getting used to the pink ball, so he looks like a confirmed starter. And then all the talk has been around, is Mohammad Shami going to come to play? If he does come back, the pink ball will suit him, so that'll be hard work for the Aussies.
Well, 10 days really between this test and the next one, so there's definitely time if he is fit and wants to play and India want him to come back in for the Adelaide test. Any other worries? I mean, a few too many extras perhaps?
Yeah, I think both teams were a bit guilty of that. It's not such a big deal because the margin's so big in this test match, but we know test matches are won by little moments, and they're things that they just need those 1%ers both teams to go and clean up, because you don't want that controlling the result of a test match. You don't want that big wicket off a no ball and all of a sudden they go on to win the test match. So it's something both teams need to clean up leading into the second test.
Okay, steel yourselves, a chastening defeat, but Australia must have had some positives there. And I think that if we did see positives, they were today. Travis Head, 89, Marsh just shy of his century. Good time in the middle.
Yeah, I think if you look at the first innings bowling, I think the bowlers did a wonderful job. They got India out for 150. The bowlers looked like Hazelwood and Stark in particular, looked like they had some really good rhythm. And today, if you have a look, I thought Travis Head played beautifully. I thought Mitch Marsh did the same. He started to find a bit of rhythm in his game. But one thing they can take out of it, it was a noticeable difference if you get through that new ball. Yes, it's going to be hard work to get through that opening spell, but if you can get this ball to 20, 25 overs, all of a sudden the game calms down. There's not as many demons in the track. Bowlers are coming back for their second and third spells, and that's what we've seen with Travis Head. Once he got into that stage of the game, the scoring ticked over and batting did become a lot easier. So that's one thing the Australians can take out of it. They've just got to get through that new ball spell.
So you talked about the quicks and the bowling. Anything else positive from an Australia perspective?
Oh, yeah, it's the first test of the summer, and there's 4 more to go. Every time this Australian team's been challenged, they've stood up. There was times at the World Cup where they thought they were going to go out early. They came back against Afghanistan, and when it mattered, they turned the best cricket on. They're a very experienced team. They've got a bowling attack that only teams would dream of. So expect them, yes, it's a disappointing result here, but it's a long series. And this team, every time they've had questions put to them, they've come up.
It's remarkable, isn't it? The sort of mentality of the elite athlete is that it's only when your backs are against the wall that you really see what they're made of. And I wouldn't put it past some of the Australians here. They've been around the block a few times. They know what they're doing. So even though it's 1-0 down, what's really great about this is that it's the first time that it's been a 5-test match series for 20 odd years. So we've got a lot more to come. Okay, the last quarter, and this might be a slightly longer one, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but there are a few worries, of course, in the Australian camp. And first of all, maybe we start with the obvious, the form of Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith.
Yeah, they're both world-class players, and they'll be disappointed about what happened this test match, but they've got 10 days to go and work on it. They can go away, have a look, and is it technical? Is it mental? But to me, Steve Smith leading into this test match was playing as well as I've seen him for a long time. So I'm not too concerned about what happened there. Marnus Labuschagne, he's just got to get back to, I think, that mindset that he plays at. Get himself into the contest, look to be proactive, keep the scoreboard ticking, and then the game will start to pan out in front of him. But it's going to be hard work for that top order with Bumrah coming, but they're class players. There's no need to panic. There's no need to panic after one test match. As we've said, there's 5 test matches here. This is the first time we've had it in some time. So no need to panic yet. They've been around a long time and they'll come good.
I realise this is a cliche, but it really was a baptism by fire for poor old Nathan McSweeney. 10 in the first dig, a duck in the second. Is there a question of whether he's up to it, or, I mean, he just got Bumrah, didn't he?
Well, it was his first test match. There's no point judging him too much on what happened out there. Everyone's nervous. He goes to Adelaide now. That's his home wicket. He's comfortable there. He understands the surface. So we've got to give him a break. It's his first test match. It's hard work. The greats of the game have taken 5, 10, 20 tests or more sometimes to get into their work. So I'm not too worried about McSweeney. Yes, it's a different role, but he's new to Test cricket. You've got to expect this.
Body language. I know that Australia were out in the field for the best part of 5 sessions. Could they have maybe lifted it a bit more, bit of chat, bit more of an upward posture perhaps?
I heard that comment on day 2 that the Australians' body language wasn't right, but I had a look around the field that there was in and out fields. There was a lot of guys on the boundary at deep square, deep point, mid-off, mid-on. It's hard then to create too much energy. But looking in that ring, they were still competing on every play. And I think we've just got to be careful not to get too far in front of ourselves. It's the first test match of the summer. India played well, congratulations, they outplayed Australia. But this team has been in this situation, as I've said, a lot of the time. They'll go away, they'll work on little things that they need to, and expect a really hungry Australian team second test.
Really interesting statistic here. Australia have won just 4 test series out of 240 when losing the first test. They're going to have to pull off a Novak Djokovic here to get back in it.
Yeah, as I said, it's not the first time they've been in this situation. It's the first test of the summer. We're not going to write this Australian team off. They're a high-quality team. India played well. That's what we have to remember. And as I said, they've got 10 days to go away, work on what they need to do. We'll see how we go in Adelaide.
And to be honest, thinking about 10 days between this test and the next one, that's about the same time that India had after a 3-0 drubbing by New Zealand on their home soil to come here and take on Australia. So 10 days is a long time in cricket, it's a long time in sport, and I would not put it past the Australians to come back with a win from here.
No doubt.
Into the final segment, the Secret Cricket Club questions. Some pertinent ones here. Michael asks, do Australia wreak any changes to the 11 for Adelaide, or do they keep the same team?
Same team, no doubt in the world.
Easy one there. Nice asks, is Steve Smith's spot safe in the team? Not maybe just for the next test, but future tests in the series.
Steve Smith can play for Australia as long as he wants.
Heard it here first. Tom asks, will Josh Inglis make the 11 this summer as a batter?
Well, he is a spare batter. If someone gets injured, he's obviously the next one up, but I don't think so.
Possibly in the future. Noel asks, could Bumrah one day become an iconic for Australia, like Viv Richards, Freddie Flintoff, or Richard Hadley?
Well, I tell you what, the way the crowd warmed to Bumrah, the way he warms to big moments, when he finishes his career, he'll go down as one of the great Indian fast bowlers.
Absolutely, a great captain, great fast bowler in the making. And Sean asks, this is a good one, and possibly a good one to end on, the best drop for drowning cricket sorrows.
The best drop, cold Corona.
Don't know about you, I'm on the Cooper's Mild Ales. Anyway, that's the end of the first test. A convincing victory for India, 295-run win. But we're going to do it all again in 10 days' time in Adelaide. And, well, five-match test series, anything can happen. I'm Isabel Westbury, he's Brad Haddin, and it's goodbye from Perth.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.